whether it's Portland and other places. Antifa is the opposite. They're clearly criminal elements. I'm out with them all the time, whether it's Portland and other places. I mean, we were just recently in their kitchen at the Red House over in Portland. We drank their coffee literally and sat by their fire in their camp, their occupied zone in Portland. So we're quite familiar with what they look like, what they do. They're often on drugs. Now, keep in mind, there's different elements of Antifa. There's that element that would occupy the Red House. That's not your A-team. What we saw in the Capitol building is your A-team. That's like your Special Forces Antifa. Those are the guys that come out for special actions. So that's your 1% of Antifa. On the pie chart that I've shown you before, that I drew out for you on paper, that's your tiny sliver. That's your Special Forces of Antifa. That's what we saw in the Capitol building. They know exactly what they're doing. They're well trained. They're well organized. They show up with the gear that they need. They've got the statements ready to say, you know, she's dead, that sort of thing. They come out. They make great statements for the camera, sound bites. These guys are professionals.
You mentioned agent provocateurs. What's an agent provocateur?
An agent provocateur is one that comes in, and this is an old tactic that goes back centuries. They come in and they harness the energy of a pre-existing movement or protest. They may have arranged the protest of their enemy. They may actually arrange it and like call for a protest, and they'll do it under the false flag, right? So what, in this case, let's say Trump supporters. I believe actual Trump supporters had a real rally. Trump called it himself. So he gave the speech at the Ellipse in the morning. So they basically hijack your horse, right? So they come in, and in this case, after the speech at the Ellipse, you had to walk, you know, pretty far over to the Capitol. So people were left the Ellipse to go to the next rally of course, went to the Ellipse to hear President Trump speak, right? The next rally was at the Capitol building. So as Trump supporters started to go to the Capitol building, where we went next, that's when I started seeing APs that were like, this way, keep coming forward. AP.
I saw them too.
Right.
Yes.
And so people are like, come forward, keep coming, keep coming. Those are APs. Go over the wall. They had set up the bike rack barriers that they had taken down and used those for ladders, right? And so you had people, APs, helping people get over the wall, right? So I stopped, got video of their faces, photographed them, clear AP work. Come this way, go up, come on, there's still room, you can get in. Come on, you need to come up, this is your job, this is your chance. You know, stand up for your country. Waving huge Trump flags, got the rebel flags out there, you know, false flag. That's why they call it false flag. Meanwhile, you've got Trump supporters going, no, there's Antifa here. Antifa start attacking the police. They're like, that's not us. That's Antifa. You can see it on many videos. You can see one, what appears to be a Trump supporter. It's on an Epoch video that I don't believe is published yet. I saw the video yesterday of a guy with a Trump sticker on the back of his helmet starting to break a window with a truncheon, right? And what appears to be a Trump supporter comes to bear hug him and grab him back. Two other what appear to be Antifa starting to grab him. So it's on your video, on an Epoch video. In any case, these are clear agent provocateur actions. Wearing Trump's, this is why we call it false flag. It's an old technique that goes back centuries.
In terms of identifying markers between Antifa members, how would you identify them?
Usually cells will have their own markers. This is why when I go to protest, I'm often on the edges of the actual action, because what you'll see habitually in every country I go to, cells will tend to sit on the ground together. And you can start seeing, you know, commonalities in shoe wear as an example, or tape on the shoulder, or lights on the shoulder, or markings on the helmet. Like that guy, I'm not sure if the guy with the Trump sticker on the back of his helmet with the truncheon, if he had ACAB written on his helmet, but another one did, according to another source.
What's ACAB?
ACAB is all cops are bastards. So when you see ACAB, ACAB, written, usually it's magic marker or painted, that's a clear Antifa sign. It couldn't be any clearer. Trump supporters never come up with ACAB.
Now, you'd mentioned one of the individuals who was smashing this window had a Trump sticker on the back of his helmet. I know we were discussing before, And you mentioned that this was something you had been told ahead of time that these individuals would be using as a sign to signal to each other. Can you tell us about this?
Right. I was told it post facto actually, because I'm constantly looking for signs, because anytime a cell goes to action, or often, if they're a really good cell, their signs and symbols are very difficult to see actually. But in some of the Antifa, like their special forces type, can be a little harder to spot. But they will be close together typically. Often they'll have radios, but in some cases they're now more hidden, right? So I'm always looking for antennas in the back pocket or something like that. I'm always looking for common shoes. Often people will have the same shoes. Often they'll have something. It might be the same color something. And so that they can recognize each other, right? But this is intercell type stuff as well, right? So in other words, when there's multiple cells working with each other, they need to be able to recognize each other. If it's just a four-man cell, they already know each other, right? So they don't have to have their own markers, right? So, but you could see out there were quite a few cells. I don't know their cell size. I'm trying to figure that out, but that can vary. But usually it'll be like 4 to 8 people.
Now, in terms of what you saw with these agitators, with, say, you mentioned Hong Kong tactics, can you tell us briefly about the tactics and procedures that are specific to Hong Kong? Like, how were they behaving, and how could we prove in any way that those same tactics and procedures were being used by Antifa?
Shields is one. For instance, you never see Trump supporters with shields. And Antifa constantly uses shields. Hong Kongers, of course, use a lot of shields because they were getting hit with rubber bullets.